Hey everyone, Movie Club here, and today we're watching Code 3. Randy is the kind of man we meet at the worst moment of someone's life, when that life needs saving. He's a paramedic, a burned out, cynical, middle-aged guy. He often rolls on a Code 3, serious case, lights and siren, maximum hurry. In nearly 19 years on the job, he's seen it all, and knows death stalks people everywhere. Somebody jams a fork in a toaster. Somebody crashes a car. Somebody with a peanut allergy takes a bite. And his job is to give people a little extra time to live, dragging them back from the brink. But some patients are racing to leave this sinful world on their own. On one call, one woman is passed out on the floor, juiced on something illegal, while another is bouncing around with a rifle. Randy does the usual life-saving routine for this hopeless case, but he himself starts to feel sick. The clueless trainee just gets in the way, so he has to keep going solo. The patient comes to, pukes everywhere, and screams that they ruined her high. She swings at them and claws at the trainee's neck, then jabs Randy with a used needle. To subdue her, the man has to whack her with the oxygen cylinder. The trainee snaps. On day one, he's been shot at and strangled. This is not the life-saving he pictured, so he quits in a rage. Randy then sits at home for a week, taking a chemo-like prophylactic drug. It's a precaution. Whatever disease that filthy needle carried, he doesn't want it. The medicine hits hard, and it becomes the last straw for Randy. On top of that, for all this misery, he's paid less than a hospital orderly. Desperate, the paramedic decides to switch careers and interview at an insurance company. At the interview, he pours his heart out. He's tired. Even dismembered bodies don't move him anymore. He lives in constant stress and needs to leave EMS before he hurts someone himself. After that fiery speech, he's sure they'll pass, and he slumps back to the station. He begs his chief to cut his shift short, but she's understaffed, so it's back out there, paired with driver Mike, the only one who can stand Randy's temperament. On top of that, they saddle him with a trainee again. There's no one else to teach, and Randy's the best. Can't argue with that, so he heads to the rig where a perky rookie named Jessica is waiting. Randy scares her with worst-case scenarios, but the girl seems unflappable. Then he lays down the law. On calls, don't do anything and don't touch anything. First stop, a diner, and the wide-eyed newbie learns that later they may not get a free minute all day. In the joint, they run into disrespect for their work. The place pours free coffee for heroes, fire, and police, but paramedics don't make the list. They can't even eat in peace. The first call pings to a familiar psych. The partners, laughing, make a bet. Will he be naked this time or dressed? Call it a draw. The guy's in just a tank top and declares he's Satan. Randy simply hands him his breakfast and clears the call. Turns out the fellow regularly fakes a breakdown to get into the hospital where there's food. The paramedic tells the trainee, sadly, there's no idealized life-saving here. Half the time they're called when they're not needed. Next call, a driver from a car crash. Unexpectedly, Jessica nails the diagnosis off his breathing, and Randy, despite his own ban, lets her do chest compressions. He teaches the girl not to run in. Walk, or you'll trip and get hurt. And the patient will get nothing. They rush the driver to the hospital, where the cocky Dr. Serrano works, and he and Randy have a long-running beef. The doctor flatly says the patient is dead and scolds them for tracking mud into his ER. Everyone walks away, but Jessica keeps pumping that unlucky heart. Afterward, the partners explain they're required to render care even when the odds are zero and deliver the person to a hospital. Then Randy tries to shake a snack out of a busted vending machine, loses it, and almost has an episode. Exhausted, he levels with the rookie. Run, or you'll end up like me. Randy is stuck here. With his education, the hospital would have him changing bedpans, and if he goes back to school, he'll graduate at retirement. But Jessica has her own reason for medicine. Her mom choked to death right in front of her, and the teen couldn't help. Then Randy's phone rings. and he breaks into a happy dance. He passed the interview after all. A new call. A nursing home where staff are covering negligence. Supposedly, the nurse stepped away for a couple of minutes and the patient stopped breathing, but the body is already stiff, meaning nobody checked on the woman for 5 hours, and the crew refuses to paper it over. On the road to the next scene, Mike ribs Randy. "What'll you do in the real world? You can't even talk to people. And when was your last date?" The next patient is a biker who greets them standing and with a stick jammed in his eye. As they carefully work, a passing nurse barges in. Randy barks that this is his patient and tells Jessica to bandage both eyes. She argues, and afterward he lays into her. No bickering in front of the patient. The person is already terrified. He needs to feel his medics are solid. See the wider picture. If the biker could use the good eye, the bad one would start moving too. Jessica sincerely apologizes and they hit a diner. Dusk already, and they've barely had crumbs. But the starving Randy doesn't get to chew. An intrusive lady at the next table noisily asks for the worst thing you've seen. He tells the story he saves for moments like this, about a mother who roasted her infant in a microwave. The partner cracks up, and then Mike admits he's quitting too, going into law because of his mom's death. She needed a good attorney. Her insurance wouldn't cover cancer treatment, and while she fought for her rights, the metastases killed her. He's long felt their work barely helps anyone. Yet next, it's Mike who saves a man's life. They're called to another regular, a former soldier who thinks he's the US president and is raging. It isn't his fault. The state gives him only 20 pills a month, and for the other 10 days, he spirals. The crafty crew pretend to be Secret Service agents evacuating him to the White House. They grab a stuffed squirrel and a potted bush he considers the First Lady and the Vice President. They march the big guy out, shielding him from imaginary snipers. Harder is faking that the ambulance is a helicopter, but somehow they pull that off too. Right then, cops roll up, see a scary Hulk, and draw down. They ignore the crew's pleas to kill the sirens and not rattle the patient. Mike realizes they're about to lose the guy and, by a miracle, reaches him and calms him. They load him into the rig, and Randy has an anxiety episode. They hand the vet to Sereno, who suddenly blows up. "Stop dumping patients on me. There are 3 other hospitals nearby." He's slammed, understaffed. Patients sit for hours. The responsibility's crushing him, and he's furious and done. On a break, Randy and Mike play baseball with a board and can. The driver jokes this is basically the extent of their relationship. He knows nothing about his partner. Randy falls silent. He thought Mike was his best friend. He doesn't really have any others. Then a real baseball call comes in. A teen took a line drive to the chest and collapsed. Thankfully, they bring the kid back, and the crew leaves the field to applause. It's almost strange to have their work appreciated, and a smile actually cracks the usually dour Randy's face. In the rig, the boy keeps asking if he's going to die, and the paramedic dodges the question. But Randy feels for the kid and breaks his rule of promising nothing. He tells the teen he'll be okay, and then the kid's heart stops. The boy dies, and Randy is shattered because he promised to save him. That's why he builds a wall between himself and the world. He's out of strength, and to hell with this job. He tells the chief he's quitting right now, mid-shift. She begs him not to leave like a coward, but it's no use. In the truck, Randy asks Mike to drive him home with the lights on. One last look at the city in their flicker. The radio screams, and they have to take a new call. A brutal crash by the airport. 2 cars smashed together. The scene is chaos. No roadblock. Cars whip by inches away, and planes roar low overhead. Everyone in the cars is dead, but a woman thrown onto the asphalt is still alive. They roll her to carry her to the rig, and a pacifier drops from her hand, meaning there's a baby somewhere. The paramedic has to look in the car, though he knows it might be a nightmare, but in the child seat sits a completely unharmed baby who's terrified of the man with the shears frantically cutting the belts. Randy lifts the kid and nearly cries with relief, but a passing car almost wipes him out. The crew scoops up the survivors and calls the nearest hospital, Serrano's. Triage complains they're overwhelmed, but Randy sees the woman is crashing and takes her there. The doctor nearly comes at him with fists again. Then Jessica steps in and points out that by every symptom, this is already an active emergency. Randy fought for the mother's life, while also caring for the baby and dodging traffic. And the doctor is standing here wasting time. Refuse to treat her, and you'll lose your license. Serrano stares and asks the upstart who she is to tell him what to do. Surprise! Jessica is the new resident at this hospital, not a paramedic at all. Randy and Mike called her a trainee when they met, and she never corrected them. Serrano promises to make her life fun, and immediately orders her to grab a bedpan and scrub in. In the end, the patient survives, and Jessica tells Randy he's her role model. If she's ever in trouble, she hopes it's him who shows up to save her. Finally, the shift ends. The crew is greeted at the station like heroes, and Randy gets a wad of cash for breakfast. The whole team chipped in after hearing he told off Serrano. Next morning, the paramedic shows up for the new office job. Quiet, calm, the hours slip by. On the way home, he yields to an ambulance, watches it in the mirror for a long beat, and heads for the station. The chief bursts out laughing when she sees him back in uniform. She never processed the resignation anyway, and Randy suddenly asks her out. He finally understands he only feels alive and needed here. That's where the movie ends. Thanks to everyone who watched this video all the way to the end. Please hit the like button on this video. Drop a comment with your thoughts on the film, and I'll see you in the next video.